In this regard, all self-employed citizens are required to self-register, while all employers must register their employees within 30 days of employment and thereafter make the prescribed contributions. Remember, registration and contribution to the National Health Insurance is mandatory by law. Be compliant, pay on time to avoid prosecution without further notice. National Health Insurance, leaving no one behind.
Wow, that over there is a very nice Ford. Have you seen it?
Of course. I have been looking at it since we got here. My worry is how people manage such vehicles and where they buy genuine parts from.
I'm sure there's nowhere else apart from Shuma Auto Parts. They are the only supplier of genuine Ford and Mazda parts, which comes straight from the manufacturer. They have everything in stock for both latest and ordinary Mazda and Ford. They also stock service parts such as diesel filters, aircon filters, diesel pumps, steering pumps, turbochargers, engine overhaul gaskets, suspension parts, and body parts. If they don't have parts you're looking for, they can order within 5 to 10 working days. To top it up, Shuma Auto Parts also supply Maxxis tires and CST tires.
Really? But where are they found?
They are found on Chandram Sonda Road, Cruiser Auto Workshop in Lusaka. Call on 0979 192057 and 0960 747235. Email shumaautoparts@gmail.com. Shuma Auto Parts for all your genuine vehicle parts.
The happy world of 5FM Radio, your adult contemporary radio station in Zambia, connecting you to the newsmakers and events that make news in the global village.
Good evening. This is the 5FM main news. The headlines. A Lusaka-based pastor abducted by 5 suspected criminals. President Hakainde Hichilema advised to dissolve the current ACC board. Serial killer arrested after bodies found in Kenya. This news bulletin is also streaming live on the 5FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, 5FM Radio Zambia. With the details, I'm Hebet Mutabi. A 39-year-old pastor of Kanyama compound in Lusaka was abducted by 5 suspected criminals at his church in John Lane compound. Police managed to rescue him and arrested the 2 people in connection with the incident, which occurred on July 14th, 2024, around 18:30 hours at Miracle Center of Fire International Ministries. Deputy Police Public Relations Officer Danny Mwale says investigations indicate that Pastor Owen Silozi received a phone call from one of the female congregants who requested him to meet her at the church premises in John Lane compound. Mr. Mwale explains that the pastor left home and was met by 4 men at church who forced him to enter into a building. Upon arrival, he says that the pastor was then abandoned into a nearby motor vehicle.
Police investigations indicate that Pastor Owen Silozi received a call from one of the female congregants who requested him to meet at the church premises in John Lane compound. The pastor left home and was met by 4 men at church who forced him to enter into a building upon arrival. He was then bundled into a nearby motor vehicle. Members of the public who witnessed the incident narrated that the motor vehicle, a white Toyota Allion, sped off towards Kafiwe Road. It is alleged that later the suspect started calling the pastor's wife, demanding for money amounting to 10,000 kwacha. Police were alerted and immediately instituted investigations.
The Action Institute for Policy Analysis Center, IPAC, has expressed concern at the shocking revelations from the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC board member that the institution is under capture. Organization Executive Director Solomon Ngoma says that this disturbing development undermines the rule of law, perpetuates impunity, and betrays public trust. Mr. Ngoma says the Commission's capture by vested interests compromises its ability to effectively tackle corruption, which has far-reaching consequences for Zambia's democratic governance, economic development, and the well-being of its citizens. He says that the organization fears that this development may be linked to the ongoing interference with the ACC's investigations, the harassment of its officials, and the manipulation of the justice system. He has urged President Hakainde Hichilema to take immediate and decisive action by dissolving the current ACC board and appoint a new one that can restore the Commission's independence and integrity.
Acton Institute for Policy Analysis Center is gravely concerned by the shocking revelations from the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC board member that the institution is under capture. This disturbing development undermines the rule of law, perpetuates impunity, and betrays public trust. The ACC capture by the vested interests compromises its ability to effectively tackle corruption, which has far-reaching consequences for Zambia's democratic governance, economic development, the well-being of its citizens. APAC fears that this development may be linked to the ongoing interference with the ACC investigations, the harassment of its officials, the manipulation of the justice system.
Opposition Patriotic Front faction media director Edwin Lifwekelo says blocking Edgar Lungu from attending meetings or church gatherings will not change the downturn of the economic spectrum of Zambia. Mr. Lifwekelo says 3 years is long enough for the UPND administration to fix the economy as it is or encircled in an unprofessional state of affairs. He says going after the perceived enemies like ECL and other opposition leaders and embarrassing them in public in an uncouth manner will not help to tone down the cry of all Zambians. Mr. Lifwekelo says citizens want a reduced price of fuel, reduced cost of living, fairness in the allocation of government contracts, paying contractors and suppliers on time.
Sadness and fear fills me up to see how a nation of plenty and known for the rule of law is fast turning into a state without direction under the New Dawn government of the rule of law. As proclaimed and sung daily by President Hakainde Hichilema, the rule of law song, though sung every day in one-man show nation, the nation daily wakes up to face the opposite of the New Dawn government.
Mining expert Edward Simukonda has urged Zambian investors to venture into copper cable manufacturing. Speaking in an interview with 5FM, Mr. Simukonda says Zambia, being a copper-producing country, is supposed to have a minimum of at least 20 copper wire-producing companies. He states that it does not make sense for a copper-producing country like Zambia to be importing cables from countries that Zambia exports copper to. He says that the copper is exported at a certain value and then comes back at a higher value. Mr. Simukonda further states that the exporters in turn make more money. And Mr. Simukonda has said that the injection of 10 million United States dollars in copper cable manufacturing plant in the economic zone in Chiwombo district by Jiangxi Copper Zambia, a subsidiary of Jiangxi Copper Group, is a positive indicator.
Having a third company is a positive indicator, but we should have more than 3 companies producing copper wires, at least minimum 20, being a country that produces copper. Somebody should be able to come and give us answers because, Zambians as we are, we're supposed to be producing these copper wires because we produce copper. It will just come from the copper belt, have your factory in Livingstone, Kasama, or wherever you want it to be, and produce the wires. for local consumption and exports. We're not supposed to be importing wires from China.
In other news trending this evening, Zambia Law Development Commission ZLDC Director Hope Chanda has noted with concern that both the COVID-19 pandemic and cholera have negatively affected the country's social and economic status. Governance expert Wesley Mianda has charged that there are still some volunteer health workers who participated during the cholera pandemic still roaming the streets and receiving threats from political cadres for voicing out on the matter. Up next, business news.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
In business news, government has disclosed that it has embarked on regular generation and updating of data on the stocks and flows of natural resources such as land, forests, wildlife, tourism, and water. Green Economy and Environment Minister Mike Mposha says this is aimed at improving policy decision-making in the utilization of natural resources. Mr. Mposha says it is therefore gratifying to note that the French Development Agency is actively collaborating with the government in promoting a green economy, and of significance is the agency's contribution to the diversification of the country's energy mix with a focus on renewable energy. He says for a growing economy such as Zambia, energy is a critical ingredient for the attainment of sustainable socio-economic development. The minister said this when a French Ministry of European and Foreign Affairs delegation paid him a courtesy call.
Commitment of our government to further this mutually beneficial partnership between our two countries for the benefit of our two peoples, but also to once again appreciate your government, the government of France, for the number of commitments towards helping Zambia pursue a green economy. We have a lot to learn from each other. We have a lot to also learn from the expertise, the many years of experience.
Ends the business news.
5FM Radio Business News. We mean business. Keep you current in commerce, trade, and industry, local and global. It's our business to keep you informed about business.
In foreign news, Kenyan police have arrested a man who they have described as a serial killer suspected to have been behind the gruesome murder of 9 women whose mutilated bodies were found in a disused quarry used as a rubbish dump. Police say Jomaisi Kalisia, 33, confessed to having killed 42 women since 2022, including his own wife. The suspect was arrested at a bar early on Monday morning as he was watching the Euro final. There has been a shock and outrage in Kenya since the first of the dismembered bodies were found on Friday at the Mukuru Quarry in the capital, Nairobi. Here's a roundup from the BBC for other world news stories.
Rwandans are voting in a general election, with Paul Kagame widely expected to be re-elected for a 4th term. Donald Trump and Joe Biden have both said America needs to come together in the aftermath of the assassination attempt on the former president. Mr. Trump is in Milwaukee ahead of the Republican National Convention. He told a newspaper he had completely rewritten his speech to call for national unity. Police in Kenya say they've arrested a serial killer following the recent discovery of at least 9 mutilated bodies at a rubbish dump in Nairobi. Only 2 contenders have been cleared to run against him, Frank Habineza of the Democratic Green Party and independent Philippe Mhaimana. The government of Pakistan says it will seek to ban the party of the main opposition leader and former Prime Minister Imran Khan.
In sports news, the Football Association of Zambia FAZA President Andrew Kamanga says that the country is keeping tabs on the CAF Champions League and Confederations Cup envoys, especially after the draws were conducted last week. Kamanga says that the champions, Red Arrows, will kick off their campaign against Malawian outfit Nyasa Bigger Bullets, while Zesco United will be up against Harare Dynamos. He says everyone in the country knows how important it is for these two clubs to do well in their respective competitions and help increase the target of getting back to having more representation. Kamanga says that the country is looking at the teams targeting to be at least in the group stages of their respective competitions. We now have the evening weather report. Stay tuned.
Class Econ Roofing Africa.
Class Econ Roofing, plot 17100 off Katanga Road, 150 meters from Mumbwa Road, Chinika Industrial Area, Lusaka. Class Econ Roofing. Class plus economy.
Class Econ. Class Econ Roofing Africa. Class Econ.
The evening will be mainly clear and mild. Tuku ends the evening weather report.
Class Econ. Class Econ Roofing Africa.
Class Econ Roofing, plot 17100 off Katanga Road, 150 meters from Mumbwa Road, Chinika Industrial Area, Lusaka. Class Econ Roofing. Class plus economy.
Class Econ. Class Econ Roofing Africa. Class Econ.
That item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the top stories. A Lusaka-based pastor abducted by 5 suspected criminals. President Hakainde Hichilema advised to dissolve the current ACC board. Serial killer arrested after bodies found in Kenya dump. For more news, follow us on Facebook, 5FM Radio Zambia. On behalf of the entire news crew and the technical department, thank you for listening to the happy world of 5FM. Stay safe and stay tuned to 5FM Radio. I'm Herbert Mutavi.